Indeed. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Tackle and Tacos, a fishing podcast. This is episode 94, 95, 90 something, which is pretty exciting. And like every other episode, we are so pumped and honored and stoked to be brought to you by Grizzly Coolers, some of the best coolers and cups and drinkware, and even their merch. Their hunting blinds are straight up next level. Great stuff by great people, made in Decorah, Iowa. If you are interested or looking into cooler, drinkware, cups, whatever, the code WCB Whiskey Charlie Bravo will get you 15% off at grizzlycoolers.com. And if you're wondering why WCB, it's because we're part of the Working Class Bowhunter podcast of networks. So make sure you check them out as well, workingclassbowhunter.com. Also, we're excited to be brought to you by Giltech and Hook and Arrow Supply. We think Giltech makes the best swim jigs on the market. We'd be happy to argue with you about it, but we think they're the best. Nate was just what were you just doing, Nate?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was in the restroom.
I thought you were gonna say something clever. I thought you were saying come up with something good.
No, it was nothing good. I don't have anything
right.
good, nothing like your intro. I was using the bathroom, trying to make sure we can get through this episode,
right,
smoothly
without
and without any issues, no hiccups, right?
Yeah. Who was it we recorded with that one time? Alabama Bass meme lord. Salzy, you remember that?
Yeah.
We're like halfway
Ryan
through
Salzy,
the conversation, and he's like, "Hey, I gotta pee," and he hops up and goes. And we're like, "Oh, okay." Like, all right, fine, whatever. Like, I mean, I guess you're a human being, you got to do it. But I was just talking about Giltech, Hook and Arrow Supply Co., like the dopest stuff. I think Giltech. Yeah, one thing I was thinking about the other day as we were talking about Giltech is like it's not a huge company. You know what I'm saying? It's not Pradco. It's not some like major brand player or whatever. But like it's also not just like this teeny little thing either. Like everything Giltech makes is super dope. Even like that package over my shoulder, it comes looking professional, even though it's not a giant company. And I think that's a rad deal to support a small company with a guy who cares about fishing. And he's doing his best. He's killing it. So hookandarrowsupplyco.com. My favorite product by them, we talked about last week, I think, is the boot tail swimmer. It's called the split back swimmer. Nate loves the swim jigs because Nate is a swim jig fisherman. I'll never forget one time we were on the Miss, I think on pool 13, 14, pre-fishing for a derb, and Nate had bought like 6 or 7. I think they were dirty. Were they dirty jigs, swim jigs?
I think they were dirty jigs.
Do you remember that? Where you literally lost half a dozen to pike.
Yeah.
That it was just like one after the other. You were just losing them. And that was the day you got bit off on like a little like seawall that was flooded. And I said, well, let me flip in here real quick with a Bruiser Flash D-bomb. Let me flip in here, catch a 5-pounder. And you're like, okay. And I went up there and first flip, I caught a 5-pounder off that little seawall, which was pretty rad.
Yeah, while I was sitting down or attempting to
retying
sit down
or something. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I actually had an idea the other day. Like I kind of want to make shirts or design something that says like undisputed practice champ, because like I always do real good in practice, boy. Like everybody at the ramp, like, oh man, I don't know what happened. I was on them in practice.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, undisputed practice champ, because I've caught like even that one year, dude. We were on Lost Grove. I caught a 7-pounder, and a 7-pounder in Iowa is like a 10 somewhere else. That was in practice. We talking about practice, not a game. And then last but certainly not least is Loophole Optics. We love their sunglasses, the technology, the fit, the color, the fact that they smush the polarization in between layers of the lens. So when you buy polarized sunnies from Loophole, the polarization doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't rub off. It doesn't age off, or like it dried up in the sun. It's in between layers of the technology, the sunnies, so they just stay cutting through the water, cutting through the glare, and maybe most importantly, protecting your eyeballs really well. And then for us, Tackle and Tacos, tackleandtacos.com, social media, which is just Insta and Facebook, Tackle and Tacos, if you wanna follow along with the show. And I think that's it. Nate, what do you got? You excited about our guest? You ready to get cracking?
Yeah, I'm excited about our guest, and somewhat like our guest, not quite to the level, of course, Tackle and Tacos on the YouTube.
On YouTube, that's right. Yeah, we do put out a video every now and again.
We try, yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely try.
Not on this
Unlike
dude's level though. You're right.
exactly,
Yeah.
unlike our guest
Yeah.
Tyler Berger,
Yeah.
who's coming up to record with us. So I'm super stoked for that, man.
For sure.
This is honestly something we might should like. I got a notebook here, and
Take some notes down. Learn a
gonna
little
take some
something.
notes
Yeah.
exactly on consistency
Yeah.
and how to build a YouTube channel, because this guy he's absolutely legit. Is Bass Fishing HQ,
Yep.
Bass Fishing
It's hard to
HQ.
say fast. It's hard to say
I
fast.
think I might have said it like
Bass
you.
fishing.
Yeah, I think I
Bass
just said it like
fishing.
you did.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean his Bass Fishing HQ
There you
page
go.
has over 200,
230.
yeah,
Yeah.
over
It's crazy.
230,000 subscribers, which is ridiculous. His personal YouTube has over 30,000. I mean, he's really doing it well, and I've been watching quite a few videos lately of his, and it's just so informative
Mhm.
and honest and direct
Yeah.
and stuff you can really like kind of understand. It's not like bass fishing jargon where you just don't get it or don't
Yeah,
understand
it's
it.
like it's
He
like
just
attainable for everybody. Like it makes sense. And
absolutely,
that's to
yeah,
me, yeah, like if you're gonna do how-to videos on anything, you can't be so like specifically in the weeds for whatever that topic is to where people are like, wait, what now? Like, yeah, with Tyler stuff, it's dope and it's informative, but it's easily followed by really anybody on any level of
without
fishing.
a doubt.
And you and I were talking before we started recording. He'll also talk about, like, I remember he made a video about like the walleye cheaters thing, and then like Scott Martin getting DQ'd and whatever. But it's not like those other cats on YouTube who, like, bless their hearts, but they're just
Yeah,
obnoxious. Like, I heard from my sources. Like, your source is the internet, dude. Quit trying to act. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're some like
yeah,
undercover detective with 30 years on the force. Like, stop. Like, you don't have
right.
sources. You're just making videos and like clickbaity titles and like another piece of crap elite DQ. Like, and his videos when he
Yeah,
talks about that are more from the perspective of like you and I, like asking questions and kind of sharing what you know so far. I don't know. I think he's just doing a really good job. One thing I think most people maybe don't know about Tyler Berger is that he was fishing the opens for quite a while, and he finished top 25 in 4 of the 6 years that he fished the opens. And if you know anything about the opens, that's a feat unto
that's a
itself and then
that's a
some.
big deal. Yeah,
That's a
that's a big
huge,
deal.
big deal. Yeah, yeah. So the
Yeah,
dude's not just a guy out there commenting on fishing. The dude's a hammer. And I'll just say like a personal thing, and then we'll bring him on real quick. I think the first video I saw of his, I watched Azona's awesome fishing show, and he's talking about skipping docks and stuff. I don't remember what he's using, jigs maybe or something. And so I went on kind of a YouTube like how to skip tangent,
yeah. Well,
and
rabbit hole.
yeah, for sure. And Tyler has this video where he's skipping. I think I could be wrong, but I think it was a jackal bounty fish. And I'm talking about like skipping it like like it hits the water and goes like another like 70 yards, like just under these teeny little openings and whatever. And I probably watched that video, I don't know, legitimately 8-9 times, like just to kind of really look through how he's doing stuff. And I will say it's helped me in my skipping game because I love skipping jigs, chatterbaits, mag drafts, like really pretty much anything. And some of the stuff that I watched from that video helped me do that. He's also the owner of Finn apparel, so finnfishing.com. Some super dope hats. That's one thing. If you ever watch his videos, he always has these rad hats, like this little like wood, or I don't know what it is, leather bass on the front, just super clean design. So check that out, finnfishing.com. But I think that's it. Let's bring the dude on. Let's have a conversation. So with no further ado, I'm not even going to use my mouse. It's been acting so weird. Let's welcome in Tyler Berger. Hey.
Hey, yo, what's going on, guys?
What up,
What's
man?
happening?
Thank you for being here, dude.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's I love doing podcasts, and you guys were talking about fishing stuff. I thought we were talking fully about tacos tonight. So
we can talk only tacos if you want. How disappointed would people be? They're like, oh man, you got this guy who's like a how-to master, and you never even mentioned fishing.
Hey, I've probably been a part of weirder things before, but tacos, man, you can't beat tacos. So.
Yeah, you could talk about some tacos. If you're a human being, man, it's hard to not talk about tacos. Hey, was I right or wrong? The jackal, was that the bounty fish what you were throwing in that skipping video?
It was, yeah. And the bounty fish is definitely a unique lure when it comes to baits in general,
Mhm.
but it is definitely by far the best skipping bait that you can have. So it made sense to do it when I had that video. I just happened to order some from Japan. Like that was
Oh, okay.
before
When
I
they
had
were
actually
really
made.
like,
Yeah, when they were really kind of like busting out a little bit, I
mhm.
had made a video about the bounty fish, and then there was like, there was one comment on it, and there was a guy saying like, "Man, I would love to hear you talk about skipping because I was skipping in that video." And then there was like 50 likes on that one comment. So I'm like, well, I'm just make a random skipping video, which you were talking about, and
Yeah.
then that video just completely blew up. And I was not anticipating it. I was
Mhm.
wanting to make a skipping video, but I didn't expect it. I mean, it's got like 1.7 or 8 million views. So I wasn't quite expecting it. I knew it had potential to be maybe 100,000 type view video,
Yeah.
but not to where it was. And
Yeah.
so, anyways, yeah,
That's
It
sick,
seems
dude.
like, yeah, that is for sure. But it definitely seems like a lot of the people we talk to that have a lot of videos that are, high like videos like that, they just don't. Nobody ever anticipates the traction that it really gains. When they make it or when they post it, and they just take off. So
yeah. I mean, there's videos that are going to do well. Or topics, that
Mhm.
can do well.
right,
So, but then there are videos where you're not really quite anticipating that,
Yeah.
and then they take off for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'm a very analytical person. Like I was always a math science guy growing up, and
Mhm.
so like to me, like 1 + 1 = 2. I always like to see that kind of stuff, and a lot of things within the YouTube realm. I don't want to bore your guests, but there is a lot of things that if you hit certain kind of KPIs, within it, key performance indicators, you're going to have a video that goes off. But then there are times when you're just like, I don't understand that one. And that was one of the
Yeah.
ones where I'm like, I would have expected 100,000
uh,
views would have been awesome. And it's like almost 2 million. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't get
I think part of that video,
yeah,
right, is that it kind of touches on not only is it really good information, but like to use a word that all my kids use all the time, that video is satisfying as crap. Like watching how the lure skips, like watching it go under these little openings, like the little bushes and stuff. It would just that noise, like, it's a combo of like practical and like, ooh, that was nice.
it. Yeah. No, I mean, and I would say the biggest thing with that particular video, again, I don't want to bore your audience here,
No, you're
but
good. I want to hear
the
it.
first 20 seconds of that video is nothing but me skipping a bait,
Mhm.
and some slow motion shots. So automatically you're gonna have your biggest drop offs in YouTube within that first 30 seconds. And I would say in the first 10 seconds specifically. And so that automatically holds people's attention. And then I go right from that into kind of like hey, I'm gonna show you how to skip uncut with like 6 different ways, basically with 2 hands. And so again, it's like 2 back-to-back things that are keeping people's attention. And if you can keep people's attention online, whether that's
Mhm.
YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be, you're going to have success. And
Yep.
so that was probably one of the biggest things with that video.
Well, dang, you're dropping knowledge on us right away, dude.
right.
Because you're spot on for sure. I remember like a long time ago, like forever ago, YouTube was like really like short videos were where it's at, and then like something flipped where it was more about like view time and longer videos were dope and finding a sweet spot and whatever. But let's before we get too far into all that, if you would, man, however specific or vague you want to be, Tyler, give us a little bit of your background. We know you're a stick. We know you can fish. We know you're articulate. Where did fishing, because you're from Ohio, which is not always recognized as like the most like a hotbed of bass fishing in America. Like whenever like Dollar Bill Lowen talks, he's always like, man, if I can catch him on the Ohio River, I can catch him anywhere. People joke about it, whatever. But where did you get started in this thing of fishing, and how did it kind of progress for you to where you are now?
Yeah. So I mean, I could go on a very long story with all that. But the big thing for me, I was really fortunate to grow up with a pond in my backyard.
Mm,
So my parents owned a pond, and I fished all the time. I really loved to catfish. Like when I was really young, I wanted to catch catfish because we all just like to catch big fish, and they were the biggest fish in the pond in my backyard. And then we would go down to Florida every single year for spring break with my family. And my uncle, who lives down in Orlando area, was a bass fisherman. And so one day, me, like this was when I was like 12, 13 years old, me, my dad, my brother, We all went out on this boat, and we were all fishing. And like, this is the moment like my life changed, honestly, because I remember being on Lake Toho, and all of a sudden, I can vividly remember like this school of bass coming up on shiners, and I could see the shiners. I remember seeing this one bass. I was like 4 or 5 pounds out of the water to try to eat this shiner, and I was like, "Whoa! Like, what is going on?" You know, I'm like, I'm younger, and I'm like blown away by this.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I ended up not catching a single bass that day. Like, everyone in the boat caught bass. I caught chain pickerel. Like, just was cursed the day. But when I got back home to Ohio, I was immediately obsessed. And we used a lot of rattle traps that day. And so, like, you know, lipless crankbaits. So, anyways, I threw nothing but a rattle trap like the whole next year, like 13 years old. And totally just fell in love with bass fishing. I took that one bait all over the place, caught fish all over it. And then I started really digesting a lot of like Bassmaster and like tons of like what we had as content back then, which was magazines. There used to be this old magazine in the drugstores that was like a bass magazine. That wasn't Bassmaster FLW. I forget who made it, but I used to love it. And I would read these magazines, and then every time a tournament came on, I would record it. Literally, I have a stack. This is funny, but I have a stack of videos. Like my mom literally just brought these over to me the other day, and she's like, "Hey, do you want me to get rid of all these videos?"
And you're like,
she lives
no.
like 30 minutes away. I'm like, that's my childhood.
Yeah.
Like, all I did was record Bassmasters. I would fall asleep every night watching Bassmasters. Like,
that's awesome.
Just obsessed with it. But anyways, going on, like, I ended up getting in my first tournament around 15 years old. With my uncle down in Florida. I remember I just wanted to catch one fish, like pray to God, just catch one fish. And I ended up catching the first 3 fish that day, including 2 4-pounders on a spinner bait. And I was like, I thought I was Van Damme, you know, like I was like, oh my God. And to this day, on that day, I lost one of the biggest bass that I've ever hooked in my life, over 8 pounds. And it literally, I was flipping a fluke into pencil reeds down there, and as soon as it hit the water, it just whoosh, I mean, bowling ball explosion. And I set the hook before clicking over my reel handle. That's how jacked up I was. But like cognitively, I knew what I was doing. So I tried to push down on my spool. So I hooked the fish. I got him out of the reeds. And then he made this leap towards the boat, jumped a little slack in the line, and popped off. And but anyways, like, that fish would have been big bass of the tournament, and it would have given us a first place. And we ended up like just out of the money. I think we had like 15 or 16 pounds that day, just out of the money. But like, from that moment on, all I wanted to do was be a Bassmaster, was to be on Bassmaster, like to qualify for the elites, all that. So pretty much from then on, like, my whole life has somewhat been something in regards to fishing. I mean, through high school, through college, like, I fished the Bassmaster Opens a couple years in college as a co-angler. Learned a lot, but all I wanted to do was like get to the next level. And so I was engaged throughout. So I was through college. I was dating a girl that I dated for like 6 years. This is going to be getting into the weeds here, and no one really, I haven't really talked about this. But anyways, like, as soon as I got out of college, I had studied marketing because I read Mike Iaconelli's book, and he said, "Hey, study marketing if you want to be a bass fisherman." So I'm like, everything in my life is bass fishing, do marketing. So anyways, I got out of college, and all I wanted to do was fish the opens to try to jump onto the elites. And I just didn't have the money. And my buddy who I'd been working for, he had a tree care company. I was doing tree work, like cutting down trees every single day. Anyways, he, like, working for him allowed me a lot of freedom. And when I got out of college, basically, like, my girlfriend at the time, who became my fiance, her dad actually gave me, like, basically was going to give me this job where I can make good money. And I turned it down because it wouldn't allow me to fish the opens. And that was like all that I wanted to do. Well, long story short, like, we dated for 6 years. We were engaged for 6 months, and she broke off the wedding like 2-3 weeks beforehand. So anyways,
Whoa.
Wow.
biggest
Yeah.
biggest thing that I've ever gone through in my life. Um, Such a big blessing though. Looking back, my word, like the blessing that it was, I
Wow.
didn't know at the time, but it was such a hard time. And
Mhm.
because of that hard time, like I decided to get a different job at a marketing company. And
Oh,
this all
snap.
comes full circle. So just give me a minute here.
No,
But
it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
this
Take your time.
this this job that I got at this marketing company taught me a lot about Google. It taught me a lot about Facebook. I ended up becoming the paid search manager at this company, where all I did was
Oh, wow.
create Google campaigns and Facebook campaigns for different companies, trying to help them get more business. And it taught me a lot about that. And long story short, too, like I met one of my best friends at this job, and through him, I met my now wife and with 3
Wow.
boys. So like
Huh.
again, all this stuff kind of comes together where, I ended up quitting that job to go back to tree work to fish the Bassmaster Opens. So I
Wow.
quit that job because I'm like, this job is awesome. I've learned a lot, but I want to fish the Opens. I went back to doing tree work, and then I
Wow.
started fishing the Bassmaster Opens, and I fished them for 6 years. And like you said, uh, I uh, I I was able to do pretty decent. Like you're gonna have some bombs in the opens,
Sure.
especially getting started. Or if you like try to do things like I towards the end, I tried to like switch up what I was doing to see if it worked, and sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. But
Mhm. Mhm.
but anyways, I ended up being in 2018 and 2019. I was actually the first guy out of Elite Series
Oh,
qualification.
what? That
So
sucks.
I
Golly.
I had the
I mean, that's
fish.
impressive, but it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, but again, it's all a blessing. Like
Mm,
I'm a man of faith, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. And
sure. Yeah.
if these things
Yeah.
hadn't happened, I wouldn't be where I am.
Wow.
And so in 18, I literally uh, I ended up tying Greg DePalma. We just saw Greg DePalma almost win a Bassmaster
Yep.
Open or
Yeah.
Bassmaster Elite. And I tied him that year in points. He won the tiebreaker because he had caught the biggest bag throughout the entire year. So he went
Mm,
to the elites, and Tyler stayed
wow.
home. And then the next year, I fished my butt off. And in the last event, after the first day of that event, I was fifth in the points, which is where you needed to be at the time in
Mhm.
order to get to the elites. And then I had a subpar second day. Again, it was a really crazy thing that had happened that day, where the wind picked up on Oneida. It blew out an area that I had, and we weren't
Oh,
even
sure.
anticipating wind at all.
Mm,
And so again, I didn't end up. I was the first guy out again, and didn't make it. And then in 2020, we all know what kind of year that was. A little bit crazy. That was the last year that I fished the opens. But towards the end of that year, part of what I was doing as a job at the time, as I was making some products out of bourbon barrels for one of my other buddies, and I was doing some freelance marketing.
mm.
And the freelance marketing was a good portion of what I made income wise.
Okay.
So when
Hmm.
when 2020 happened, as a lot of you guys know, like marketing budgets are cut. It's one of the first things that
For
gets
sure.
cut.
Yep.
So a huge part of my income went down. And by the end of that year, I hadn't made a check in any of the open tournaments. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to fish opens. Like it just, I actually had a very long talk with my wife about it. I was still wanting to, right? Because my
Yeah.
whole life had been geared to trying to
Yeah.
get to the
Yeah.
opens. I had been, or to the elites. I had been so close. And like it was a hard conversation, but I'm so happy again that it happened, because in the beginning of 21, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try YouTube, because I had dabbled a little bit in YouTube. I had posted a couple of videos. And then 21, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put out 3 videos a week, every week for the
Jeez.
entire year, and I'm just gonna see what happens.
Okay.
And actually, within about 4 or 5 months, I had completely replaced my income. And I held on for a little while. I waited until the very end of 21, to make sure that it was going to be sustainable. And then
Mm.
at the end of 21, I actually ended up quitting everything and just going full time content. And that's
Wow.
just kind of where I've been ever since. So,
Gosh.
so kind of a crazy, huge story. I know I can talk forever about that
No,
kind
that
of
was really
stuff,
good.
but it all worked out. Like there were so many things that had to happen. I feel like in life, Sometimes it's a pinball machine, right, where
No
you just
doubt.
kind of tung 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 till you get down the hole,
Yeah.
and I feel like you just kind of get led in a certain way. So, uh, long I would love to get back to the opens actually and qualify for the elites at
Hmm.
some point, but I have 3 boys now. I'm
Yeah.
married. I have what I'm doing content wise. I enjoy it a lot. I just have a ton of freedom to be able to still do the thing that we all love, which is just
Yeah.
fish. We
That's
all
awesome.
just love to fish, and so I'm pumped about all that. So
Wow, man. Well, that was
Yeah, that's
number one.
awesome.
That was an awesome story. That was
Heck
really
yeah.
engaging, like start to finish. So you take as long as you want. Number two, good for you, man. I'm really happy for you. Because like you said, sometimes in the moment when things aren't going the way that we anticipated them going, it's really easy just to be like, get mad,
yeah,
flip off the world, walk away, whatever. And then sometimes we look back and we go, oh, okay, all right, I see it now. Like
yep,
I'm absolutely a man of faith as well. And I think sometimes like in life, I think the destination that God kind of has set out for us doesn't really change, but life can be sort of like a GPS. Like you get off route and it's like rerouting. Like he still wants you to get that way, but now you got to go a different sort of,
100.
kind of route to get there. And it sounds like that's how you went. And
Yeah,
that's cool, man. I'm stoked that you are where you are. So let me ask you this, and this is kind
Heck
of a
yeah.
big one. Where, I mean, I know you were talking about the opens and the elites and whatever, so that dream is still alive. Where do you see the YouTube thing going? Because one thing I always wondered about, do you ever feel like, dude, what if I can't come up with anything? Because I mean, if you're doing so many videos so often, like, and I'm not trying to be negative at all, but do you ever have that thought, like, what if I can't come up with a good idea? Or do you know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, I do. I definitely have those thoughts. I think any content creator does. And that's also like you have a lot of people who are content creators outside of fishing
Yeah.
who run into a lot of blocks
Hmm.
and they run into a lot of burnout. That our society calls it burnout a lot of times,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so you get burned out on things. To me, I'm not going to say it can never happen, but I love bass fishing and I love fishing so much
Yeah.
that I feel like there will always be something to talk about. And with my channels, if you look at fishermen as a whole, tournament fishermen are very small. I see a lot of fishermen being a pyramid, right? And
Hmm.
the tournament fishermen are typically at the top. They typically know the most. They typically are very knowledgeable at catching bass, but it's a very small demographic.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
then you go down there, you have more, expert fishermen, you have intermediate fishermen, you have beginner fishermen. And as you go down the pyramid, it gets wider, right? Because
Yeah, yeah.
that sector is humongous. And so, you know, I am at a point with the channel. Honestly, I could make the exact same videos over and over again if I really wanted. And you sometimes see that with channels. You
Totally.
see that with guys who have been around for a while. And like, for example, you look at like a tactical bassin,
Hmm.
been around for a long, long time. They've made a lot of the same videos over and over again because there's people every single year that get into bass fishing. And there's people that are a year or 2 years in, or they pick it back up,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. And so if you target kind of the beginner to intermediate bass fishermen, there's always going to be a fairly large demographic there that are continuing to come in, learn more. And YouTube likes fresh content. They
Yeah.
like things to be done within a year. And think of even when you search around on YouTube, no matter what it's for, it could be for, like I like to griddle things. So sometimes I'm out there and I'm griddling or YouTubing like how to griddle, blah, blah, blah. I like to look for those videos that are done like 3 months ago, not the ones that were done 4 years ago. I
Yeah.
may
Totally.
still look at them.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there is a point where the thing that stinks though about bass fishing is a lot of we all grew up, a lot of us in the same time frame where we've learned a lot of the same things. And in bass fishing, there's not a lot of like new stuff that always happens. It's recently there's been a little bit more because you have forward facing sonar, you have
Hmm.
jig head minnows, and that's a
Yeah.
whole other realm. But when it comes to a lot of what we've done for years, a lot of it is similar. Like we know in cold water, bass like flat sides. We know in warm water, they like top water or whatever it may be. You know,
Yeah.
you know these things and they don't always change. And so I think that that's a bad thing about bass fishing at times, is that you do have a lot of information that gets regurgitated, but you also have to realize that there's always new people coming into the sport. There's always new
Mm.
people coming in the sport. There's people that are graduating to the top of the pyramid, and then there's
Yeah.
people that leave. And so it is at times in my mind, like, man, like, even like, for example, the Tyler Berger videos that I do, because I do a daily one. Those ones, at times it does take me time sometimes to sit there and be like, what am I going to talk about today? Because I
Yeah.
feel like I've talked about a swim jig 100 times and a big worm 100 times. And so
Right.
it does hit me at times, like, I don't know what to talk about. But a lot of times in those videos, I don't care at all about viewership. Like, if they get 20 views, that's fine. So I like to get into like little nitty gritty things while still making it understandable for people who
Mhm.
are just getting into fishing.
Mm.
So anyways, I don't know, even know if I answered your question, but I
No,
don't
you definitely
fear
did.
really running out of, I guess, content, because I know I could always just kind of keep doing things, and I like to learn. So I when I go out on the water, I like, if I come off the water and I've learned something, I have this huge long list in my phone of like just little things that also spark ideas. Like, man, this happened today. This was really cool. I could talk about that in a video.
Oh,
So
sure. That's smart. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I feel like your life, like the marketing thing and all that, because you went to Ohio State, right? Or the Ohio State,
go
as you have to,
Buckeyes, baby!
you have to say it. Dude, get out of here. I'm a
National
Texas fan.
champs,
Yeah, yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Texas fan.
I'm a Longhorns fan. Yeah,
Oh,
I lived in Austin for a few years before I was a college fan, and down there, it's a religion, dude, and like it just kind of, yeah, whatever. You guys put a hurting on us though,
hey,
but
Texas was definitely the hardest battle, 100%. So
yeah, we'll see what happens next year. I'm excited for Arch Manning. I think that could be really exciting.
yeah,
But
game one,
yeah,
Ohio
I
State, Texas.
know. Geez, that's wild. Yeah, that's gonna be big.
Yeah.
With your background and your education though, like I remember hearing about, I can't remember who it was, but there was a UFC fighter, right, who was in like a qualifying fight to make it to that show. What was that show called? What was that fighter show? Ultimate Fighter or whatever that show was actually. What was that called, Nate? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That's what it was called, The Ultimate Fighter,
Yeah,
I'm
so I
pretty
thought the
sure.
Ultimate Fighter, whatever. Anyway, so this guy
Yeah.
was like in this qualifying round to make it, and he got put in a really bad arm bar, and they were like, tap out, and he was like, no. And anyway, he let his arm get broken, like his elbow or something, and then he slipped out and got the guy in like a rear naked choke and blah, blah, blah. And they said afterward, like, did you know your arm was going to break? And he's like, yeah, but I knew that I'd be able to use that to like essentially like go after my dream, because like, my dream was to be on the show and to get in the UFC. And if that's what I had to go through to get there, then that's what I was going to do. Like, he made a choice, like, this guy's going to break my arm, but then it's going to bend weird. I'll be able to get out. Side note, I wouldn't want to fight that guy. Like, that's wild. But I feel like for you, like, this is maybe a stretch, but I feel like your marketing stuff, like, it sort of prepared you maybe for the YouTube stuff that you're doing now, because you have such a trained, analytical eye, and not just like a brain analytical, like naturally analyzing, but you have the background and like the education to really, go after. Like, do you think that that's benefited you in the YouTube game and in like the marketing game and fin fishing and all the stuff you're doing now?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, um, because I went to school again for marketing, thanks to Mike Iaconelli.
Yeah.
Um, I,
What was that
I
called? Fishing on the Edge? Is that his book? Is that what it was?
yeah, this
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
and it was a good book. I mean, there's a lot of little tidbits. I think when you read a book, you really only get like two or three things out of each book, but you remember them for a while. But I remember that. And so, anyways, but going into my marketing job, like, there are a lot of similarities between what you do with like a paid search ad. Like, you're still looking for like high click through rates, and then like that all applies to YouTube. The other thing that I realized, especially with fishing related YouTubers out there, once I started doing it, I realized how little time guys that were even really big in YouTube spent understanding it. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
guys you talk to would be like, I don't know why that video went off. It just did.
I'm just making
Yeah.
videos, hoping for the
Yeah,
best. Yeah.
and it's literally like their process is throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. And
Yeah.
so you still have guys that do that these days, and it sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't. But anyways, the big thing that I did find out is that, all of YouTube, like I said in the beginning, like all of this content stuff is pretty much the exact same. It's just applying the exact same strategy to like the different platforms. And I'm not really on any other platform basically besides YouTube, because YouTube is the one that's going to pay the best.
Mhm.
And so, but really, it's like if someone clicks on your video and they watch it for a long time, then that is going to do well. Like if I know if I get over like a 13% click through rate on my initial video, like if it's 13 to 15% in the first hour, and
Mhm.
people have watched 55% or longer of that video, it's going to go viral. I know it.
Mm.
It happens
Wow.
every single time. So, like I said, there's certain little KPIs, there's things that you can understand when it comes to YouTube, and I did get a lot of understanding of that from the marketing and from doing a lot of paid search advertising back in the day, and kind of how that all works together. But yeah, so there's definitely a lot that like I said, that's kind of why I even mentioned all of that, is because there's like these little things that happen to you really in life, that kind of get you to where you are.
Yeah.
And you don't always know, like you said, you don't always know why, or you don't always basically uh, think that it's always going to benefit you. And then when you
Yeah.
look back at it, you're like, crap, like
Like,
that's the
oh.
reason I'm here,
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I wish I was mature enough or smart enough or something to see in the middle of the crap that, okay, this is for a reason, like,
Yeah, no one
uh,
is.
nobody does though. It's
No
always
one
like
can see
after,
it.
Yeah.
oh, now I see it. Like, why couldn't I recognize it in that moment? And like, maybe I'd even learn more or relish it a little more or, whatever. Nate, let's hit Mr. Berger with a couple, your favorites. You want to do that real quick?
Yeah, we can get after the old your favorites for sure.
So we have kind of a goofy like rapid fire thing where we just ask you like your favorite. It doesn't have to be like your number one, but one of your favorites as we go through random things, just to kind of get to know you, and then we'll talk about some taco stuff if you're cool with that.
Whatever. Yeah.
And then we'll keep it moving. So it doesn't have to be your number one because that's almost impossible. But give us one of your favorite. We'll go non-fishing to start. One of your favorite movies.
Jurassic Park.
Dang. Okay, dude, have you ever seen that video? That video where the kid plays the what the heck is it? It sounds like a harmonica, where like the dude comes in, he's like, "Welcome to Jurassic Park." And then that music comes in and it's like they play the theme song really poorly.
I
Oh
don't know
my
that I've
god, it
seen
is
it.
so freaking funny. Oh, it's
Really.
so funny. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, go ahead, Nate.
I
But
like
yeah, good choice
dinosaurs.
though. I do
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
What one of your favorite soft plastics?
Zoom Old Monster.
Dang, that is a good one.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that big
gosh, I
worm.
love
Yes,
Zoom
sir.
stuff. One of your favorite, like newer technologies for a boat. So forward facing, spot lock, shallow water anchors. What's like a game changer technology that you really like?
I mean, but you just named all big game changers.
Yeah.
I hate to say forward facing because I know what that crowd is like, but the thing about forward facing is what you learn about bass behavior
Oh my
is
gosh.
you cannot learn it
Yep.
unless you literally have an aquarium. And
Yep.
what you learn changes the way that you fish. And it
Absolutely.
helps you even if you don't use it after. Like I know how to fish better when I'm not around forward facing sonar because of what I know from forward facing sonar
Totally.
by bass behavior. And so
Yep.
I have to go with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Heck yeah. One of your favorite bands or artists right now?
Okay.
That's a good one. I listen to a lot of the same actual Christian worship songs all the time. So
Oh,
like
snap. Okay.
old school and like Hillsong, but my one of my favorite like more I guess non-Christian is like, dude, I'm a big Alan Jackson fan.
Oh,
Like old
snap.
school
That's
Alan
dope.
Okay.
Jackson,
Heck yeah.
anything that he has made, I have listened to it. The only cassette tape that I ever owned in my old 250 was an Alan Jackson cassette tape. I listened to the same thing literally over
That's
and
awesome.
over and over again. I loved it.
So how old school Hillsong are you talking? Like Darlene Check, like way back when?
Yeah, I mean, you could
Like
go.
Shout to the Lord?
I mean, shout to the Lord. I don't. That's not what I
Yeah.
listen to. I listen to a lot of
Yeah.
their new stuff, but I've listened to them for years. So
Yeah, heck yeah, that's what's up, dude.
shout to them.
All right, one of your
sure.
favorite places to eat when you're on the road.
Ooh, when I'm on the road, so this is a weird thing, but I tend to stick to like chains a lot of times when I'm on the road because I don't
Okay.
trust all these like
Mom
places.
and pop, yeah,
Yeah, and so I mean, you can't beat Chick-fil-A.
no doubt.
I mean, that's what I'm gonna go to, except for on
Yeah.
Sundays. I love me some Taco Bell. I mean, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
boy. Yeah, now we're talking.
Heck yeah.
That's dope. Yeah.
So,
Uh,
but Chick-fil-A is like, if I'm
Yeah.
around one, I'm like, I'm
You ever do the Chick-fil-A trick on a jerkbait?
I don't know what that is.
You don't? Okay, so there's like a thing, right? You know, because jerkbaits are obviously one of the most like tinkerable lures on earth, like the braided line split ring or bigger trebles, take a middle treble out, suspend dots, which by the way suck unless you super glue them, whatever. Anyway, but some dudes will upsize front and back treble on like a 110, but that makes it sink. So then they'll super glue a strip of Chick-fil-A cup on the top, which brings it back up.
Why don't they put a piece of, you can get little razor thin pieces of foam.
Oh, of course you could, but you could also just use a Chick-fil-A cup and then
all right.
risk polluting the lakes forever. I don't know. That's like a thing. I don't know. All right,
I
keep
had
going,
not
Nate.
heard of that, but
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah.
It's kind of a redneck
I
one.
put some foam on a glide bait to get it to rise up in the water so I could see it because it sank
Sure.
a lot. But
Yep.
I've not done Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, you should try it.
All right.
yeah, that's wild. Spinner bait or chatterbait?
Chatterbait.
Yeah. What are you a jackhammer guy through and through?
No. I love a jackhammer. We obviously know. I'd say my number one is the Midi Max, especially here in Ohio.
That's such a good one, dude.
Golly.
Me and Nate talk about that bait
Golly.
all the time. It's so good.
Yeah, and then I actually really liked the Stealth Blade. I still have a few, but I believe they discontinued the Stealth Blade.
We were just talking about that. Yeah, nobody throws it. I throw it all the time in really clear water. It works super well.
So the thing about a chatterbait is
I got a few. I'll sell you if you're interested.
oh yeah. I bet that price is great.
Yeah.
No, but it's chatterbait is just, it catches them everywhere and throughout
All the
every
time.
single season.
I'm
Every
telling
single
you.
season,
Yeah.
the most pressured bodies of water you'll find, the least pressured bodies, absolutely. A spinner bait, I feel like, is a conditional bait these days. Like you're not going to throw it as much in certain areas, but I mean, it definitely is more of a, like I catch a lot of big ones on a spinner bait, especially on a big spinner bait, but a chatterbait, man, you catch a ton on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What do you yeah.
Go
What
ahead,
do you
Nate.
think? Why do you think that is? Like a bait that's been around for a good while now, that literally everybody throws, and it still gets bit the way it does. Like, why do you think
Everywhere,
that
all
is?
the time.
Yeah, all the time. Like, there's it, like exactly like you're saying. There's no reason you shouldn't have one tied on year
Yeah,
round.
no, I can't say that I have a rhyme or reason. You just see it time and time again that like no matter what the fishery is, no matter what time of the year it is, like there's a lot of times guys that are on chatterbait bites, and I think that part of it is that it's not because of it being. It's basically like it's a jig with a small blade on it. A bait like a spinner bait puts off a tremendous amount of flash. It puts off probably the same amount of vibration as a spinner or a chatterbait, but it puts off way more flash. And I think the bass, they like see that flash and they get used to it and they get turned off to it, especially in those high pressured situations. Well, a chatterbait's not going to have that kind of flash, especially the ones that have painted blades, which I feel like I
Right,
fish
yeah,
a ton
yeah.
of painted blades. So, anyways, and therefore, it's almost like a swim jig that vibrates. I mean, it's what it is. And so, I don't know exactly. It just it's time and I mean, every single tournament, some guy's throwing a chatterbait. Like I follow tournament
without a doubt.
fishing, and it's like nearly every time. I mean, you see two guys like in places where you just wouldn't think. Guys like when they go up north and they're fishing big smallmouth. They're fishing some of these shallow water smallmouth. You got some guys with 6-pound tests and a little bitty marabou jig, and you got other guys with 20-pound tests and a chatterbait. And so it's like it just works. It just
works.
Yeah, I think in bass fishing, I love to know the why behind things.
Same.
But there's some things that it just doesn't make sense, and there's no
Yeah.
point even like a bubble gum worm, like I love a floating worm, the floating worm technique. And in the springtime, the bubble gum worm looks like nothing
Yeah.
in nature. Like
Yeah,
there's
match the hatch. Like, what is that matching?
there's
Yeah.
nothing at all that would tell, but they absolutely kill that thing.
Yeah.
And so
That is
yeah.
funny. Yeah. Who are we talking to? Who do we have on the podcast, Nate, that we brought up like the 1.25 ounce jackhammer? And he was like, shh. Who was it that we were talking to about that?
I want to say it was Berghoff. Wasn't it
Oh,
Miles
it might
that
have
said,
been. Yeah, it might have been Miles Berghoff. But yeah, because like that, there's all kinds. Because you can fish them deep now, and then like that Brian Thrift big blade, you kind of basically have to fish it shallower because it comes up so much from that giant blade. And I paid like $35 like 5 years ago maybe for a all matte black jackhammer that I got from Japan, and like. Just to your point of like the subtlety, like that thing is the juice times 10. That thing will catch it and catch fish in clear water, dark, muddy water, tannic water. And I think it's because it's got just enough movement to where they're like, what the heck is that? But it's not so flashy where it's like, they're not overwhelmed by it. And yeah, cold water, warm water, they always work. Are you a glass rod guy or a composite rod? What do you like to catch them on, Tyler?
I'm a composite rod for sure. And
Okay.
I tested that out, like quite a bit. Like I've used pure glass rods on chatterbaits, pure graphite, and the composite rods to me are the way to go.
Okay.
I use the Arc Bihite rod, which was designed more or less for that.
Yeah.
It's a 7'4" rod. And that to me, I think that longer rod is a good thing with chatterbaits too. But man, as soon as I made the change from like a jig rod, I used to use like a 7'2", 3" like, medium heavy power, fast action rod. As soon as I made the change from that rod to like the composite rod, my hookups went up. And the little things, like you would see the fish just simply hook deeper. You would see him getting more in the roof of the mouth and not on the tip of the lip. And so that composite rod for sure, I believe, is the deal.
That's dope. Yeah, I use a St. Croix glass rod. That's my main one, and I think it's the same thing. That little bit slower on the parabolic bend, if we want to sound all smart and whatever. But I think it really does. I get way better hook sets on it, whatever. But okay, enough of the chatterbait talk. What's one of your favorite? What's one of your favorite things to do if it has nothing to do with fishing? It could be with your family, it could be by yourself, whatever. What's one of your favorite things to do when you got a little bit of time?
Probably cut grass.
Really? You enjoy cutting grass? Like that's like a release for you or what?
I have 3.5 acres.
Okay, that's dope.
3 acres of grass. And so it's like when I cut grass, it's like an hour and a half of like just I don't think about anything.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Like and I feel like when you're doing a lot of content and business stuff and developing other things, like it's just like a lot. And so cutting the grass is kind of like just a whatever. I would say the thing that I like besides that is griddle. Like I got a griddle a couple of years ago, and I always just like my wife has pretty much stopped like making food at night. Like if it's warm enough,
awesome.
Even when it's cold, like I'm out there just like making griddle, whatever, steak,
like a Blackstone or what?
Yeah, like a Blackstone. It's a char griller. It's not the Blackstone.
Whatever.
I'm not that fancy, but no, it's I just love it. And I
says
love
the man with an icon boat.
Exactly.
You got me there. So.
Different thing. That's like, whatever. That's where you get fancy. It's something you put a little more into. Yeah. Go ahead, Nate.
That's funny. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Jig or Texas rig?
Jig.
Yeah. That's hard. I mean, Texas rig is versatile too, but a jig is like all the time good.
Like if I had one bait to pick forever, it's gonna be just a jig. What'd you say?
I think so too.
What's your jig? Something custom made or something somebody's making or what?
No, I like a number of jigs. I think there's a lot of really good jigs out there on the market. And as you guys know, you heard you talking about swim jigs beforehand. A lot of the jig just kind of like you can kind of look at a jig and you're gonna be like, if it's a bad jig right off the bat.
Totally.
And so there's some good jigs. Like I've always loved the Hack Attack jigs. I've always loved the structure jig. Those are both Strike King baits.
Yep.
I really like all the Berkeley baits I really like the hook that are in those. It's the Fusion 19. It's a
Fusion,
it's a brittle hook, so it doesn't bend out, but it'll snap on you. But it's a very sharp hook. But I also like, I believe Outcast. I've been using a lot of their, like the stealth fighter jig when I'm flipping
Yeah,
grass,
Seths
the
are dope.
cage
Yeah.
fighter. Like those are really, I think there's a lot. I fish a lot of them. I can't say that I fish one more than another. But I do like the cage fighter jig a lot. It's probably my most versatile used jig. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you dabble at
Heck yeah.
all? Or are you a fan of, I know like the jackal bounty fishing, whatever, but in general, are you a JDM guy? Like, do you throw JDM jigs at all? Because they have some weird stuff that's really cool.
yeah, I always look. I like the little minnow products that are like made by the Japanese more than anything. I haven't done
Okay.
as much with the jig stuff,
Okay.
but anything that's very subtle and very minnow-esque. We have a lake here that I fish a lot of tournaments on, and those fish will eat. I mean, big smallmouth will eat little minnows like this big, and so
Yeah.
sometimes finding these really weird Japanese baits, man. I mean, you can just light them up,
Yeah,
and
for
so
sure. Yeah, they do have some cool ones. Do you like Great Lakes finesse stuff at all? You throw that at all?
yeah, I didn't really know about. I don't know when they kind of busted on the scene, but I didn't
Yeah.
really fish any until this past year. And I just randomly saw some. I have a Cabela's close to my house, and I was over
Okay.
there and I saw the
Yeah.
little minnow style bait
Yeah.
uh, that you use with a jig head, jig head minnow technique, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's a cool, unique thing. So I picked up a
Mhm.
pack of them, and I've used them. I've used their head. They have a little lead head that I've used a lot as well, and so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I like their baits. I just think they're like, I feel like they're not spreading themselves too thin. Like they don't have 500 different options, but the stuff they make is like stuff that they've actually caught fish on first, as opposed to like just how much can we put out? Like everything they put, like there's that drop minnow, which was the first one with the little ball thing in the tail, and then the hover
mm,
minnow that split like a V and falls kind of like
Hmm.
yeah,
weird
that's
and
the
kind
one
of
I've had.
yeah, that
Yeah.
one's a killer, which I think they're coming out with a bigger size of that one. But yeah,
Mm.
they're killing it. What's one of your favorite tacos, Tyler? You go to a Mexican restaurant for the first time. Are you a steak taco guy? Are you a fajita guy? Which, just to be clear, fajitas are just unassembled tacos, of course. What do you get down with?
Oh man, I like probably. I mean, I would say most of the tacos I've ate are just straight up Taco Bell. Something I don't even know if we consider that Taco Bell. When I go
I
to a
think I love
restaurant,
Taco Bell, dude. Go ahead.
I
Heck
mean,
yeah.
I'll get down with the cheesy gordita crunch every single day of the
Absolutely.
week, except for
Heck yeah.
those suckers. I remember when they were like $2.39, and now they're
Yeah.
like $5. I'm
They
like,
Yeah.
are,
I can
dude.
almost get
Yeah.
Yeah.
a chipotle burrito for
Yeah.
one of these things, and I could eat 2 or 3 of them very easily. And so
Heck
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna go spend 15. I remember when you spend $15 at Taco Bell, it was like you and 3 buddies, and you would
Yeah,
sit.
yeah. You
Oh,
were
for
feeding everybody.
sure.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah,
car was getting
yeah.
fed. Yeah.
But anyways, like taco, I like the fajita
Yeah.
tacos when I go to like a restaurant.
Yeah.
I've actually, you speaking of griddle, I make these taco burgers all the time. That's
Oh
probably the
yeah.
number one thing I
Yeah.
make is a taco. It's like a burger innards inside of a taco shell.
Yep.
But my
And you
wife, my
cook it on the
favorite,
griddle, right? Like you cook the meat inside the taco shell on the
yeah,
griddle.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
those are
you
so
you literally
good.
just take
Oh,
a
those are
bowl of
killer.
meat.
Yeah.
Yep.
You put the what am I thinking? The tortilla right on top and just smash it down until
Yep.
it's
Those are
paper
Yeah.
thin.
so good, dude.
Dude, they are phenomenal. And I've
Yep.
made them like we've had multiple family events where I'm out there just griddling up taco burgers for everyone. And so it's
Yeah.
just I
That's
do
Those
it
are
awesome.
quite a
killer.
lot.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
really good. It sounds
Yeah.
so stupid. Like I'm like a taco burger, and then you have it, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a buddy of mine. He's the guy who he owns the tree care company I used to work for back in the
Mm,
day.
yeah.
And he is so picky. Like everywhere he goes, he gets chicken fingers and french fries. Like that's his thing.
He's a
Like
4-year-old,
literally.
so yeah.
And
Okay.
so, but anyways,
Yeah.
I made taco burgers for him, and he even liked them, and that's when I knew, all right,
You're
like
like,
there's something to this.
I'm on to
Because
something. I'm on to something. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
That's
it.
dope. Yeah.
Heck yeah. So what's one of your favorite taco toppings?
Mm.
Something you have to
oh,
have on a taco if you order it. Sour cream, salsa,
I
guacamole,
don't.
what is it?
Yeah, I would say I'm not super picky. Like I used to be picky, and now I'm just like whatever. I do like guacamole
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like guacamole as much in my taco as much as I kind of like to like scoop the
Dip in
guac
there.
with the
Yeah.
taco. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like
Oh
For
yeah.
sure.
using the
Oh yeah.
taco as a chip.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's a good
so
way to
Yeah.
do it.
I love that. I definitely love like if I go to Chipotle, I have to have the smoked Tabasco sauce on there.
Mm,
Like
that's good.
I just love that flavor, whatever it may be. Like,
Yeah. Chipotle is awesome.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
all about that. So
Yeah. I really like, so like, let's talk tacos for a sec. So I really like Chipotle and I really like guacamole, but it's weird at, like, to your point, like you nailed it. When you get guacamole at Chipotle, for one, it's like $11 just for the guac or something. It's some absurd
That's
upcharge. Like
the
it's like,
scoop. Yeah.
it's so tasty, but I feel like I need to like sign up for like a financing plan or something for it. It's so expensive. And then, like you said, they usually just go bleh. Like it's like a smash burger. Like it's just that ball. And so like you'll eat around the whole burrito and you get like about 3 bites with a whole bunch of guacamole,
yeah,
and the rest there isn't any. So yeah, to scoop it is a better option for sure.
yeah.
So do you cook at all, Tyler? I know you said you do the griddling thing at all. Like beyond that, are you a cook, or does your wife mostly handle the cooking at the crib, or how does that work?
We eat like a lot of meat in
Yeah,
general. Like we eat
perfect.
a lot of chicken, a lot of burgers, a lot of ground beef, steak.
Yeah.
So like I do all of the meat cooking.
Oh,
So
dope.
um primarily, my wife likes to like she can cook a lot of great things. Like she makes these panini sandwiches that are
Okay.
phenomenal. She makes everything that she does. Like I don't get it, but she always, and it's not, she won't even never watch this, so it won't even make a difference. I'm not giving her brownie points here. But
Perfect.
like she always does something a little bit extra to like the most basic
That's
things that
dope.
I'm like,
Yeah.
gosh, this is the best whatever X
Yeah.
food that
Yeah.
I've ever had. And I'm like, I don't even know what you do. She always knows how to do just a little X amount. But now that I've been cooking more, she's just taking advantage of me. And she's like, hey,
Uh,
cook up. What are you thinking for dinner tonight? I'm like, what are you thinking for dinner?
you're like, I don't know. All I do is the meat. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
So,
Yeah.
and she's been on the whole sourdough train too.
Dude,
So like,
I was just gonna bring that up. My wife's been doing sourdough. It's freaking
yeah,
awesome. It's
it
so
is.
good. I'm getting fat, dude.
Delicious. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the first like couple of times that she made it, it was easy for me to knock out like a
Oh,
whole sourdough thing in like a couple of days. I'm like, I gotta not do this.
yeah, my wife was like, my wife, who's usually one of the hosts, but you know, our middle boy Vinny had a couple wrestling meets, and then she had our older boy and our 3-year-old Gus, and she's trying to put them down or whatever, so she couldn't make it for this. But usually she would be here. But she was like, "You don't have to try and keep eating that, you know, just to make me feel good." I'm like, "I'm not," and just going through it, dude. Like when it's all warm on the inside, it's got that crisp on the outside, a little bit of butter on it. I mean, I could just put down a whole daggum loaf, and now she's doing sandwich bread with it too. Like that's like her new thing. So like at the wrestling meet tonight, I had like 14 turkey and salami sandwiches on her sandwich bread. It's, oh my gosh, dude. I'm seriously legitimately going to get like obese on this junk, but it tastes so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
sourdough. If you're gonna eat carbs, it's definitely one of the better ones out there.
Okay. I mean, I'll take your word on it. I wasn't really worried about the health. It just tastes so good. It just tastes so freaking good. Nate, are you doing sourdough too, or what? Is your wifey doing
No,
sourdough?
no, she's not. We have not jumped on the
Yeah,
sourdough train as of yet. My
Oh,
my sister does it,
you should.
and then yeah, no, I feel like I'd be in that same situation where I'm putting down a whole loaf of it, and that's the
Yeah.
last thing I need to do. So I'm all right with her not jumping on that train as of yet, but I imagine it will come. I
Yeah.
don't deny it one bit.
Yeah, it's really good, dude. So Tyler, let's jump back to something real quick. If you're cool with switching gears again, man. And again, thank you for doing our show, dude. We super appreciate you jumping on.
yeah.
But talk to me now. What do you think about kind of the state of YouTube? I feel like back in the day, there wasn't as much YouTubery stuff going on in terms of like now it's just like a podcast. Like there are 3 billion podcasts for every possible topic. There are 3 million trillion YouTubers who are putting out good content. Do you find it harder to like cut through the noise or have a good consistent YouTube with like how oversaturated it is in 2025?
Yeah, no, it's YouTube has changed so much in just the 4 years that I've really invested a lot of time in it,
Mhm.
let alone the early days. You know, back in the day, you know, when the Guggen squad, you know, as we all know them, was really putting
Yeah.
out a lot of video, like that was the
Yeah.
only fishing content, period, besides what you would see on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
fishermen and stuff.
yeah, anyone who fished, like regardless of species, would watch a lot of that stuff because that was all we had to
Yeah. Yeah.
digest. And so, especially if you like to bass fish, because they did a lot of bass fishing. And so it's morphed nowadays that, like you said, everybody has a channel pretty much,
Yeah.
and everyone does something. And if you as a viewer want to watch something specific, like you can easily just YouTube it. You know,
Yeah. It's
like
there.
the other day I was literally like, I wanted to watch somebody catching bass in milfoil. Like I have a
Yeah.
couple of videos of that even, and I didn't watch myself or anything. So I'm like looking
Right.
up like bass fishing milfoil, you know, blah blah blah. And I found a
Yeah.
couple of guys that have like 12 subscribers and 200 views on a video, and I'm like watching these videos. I'm like, this is great,
Yeah. That's
you know.
cool.
And so you as a viewer, you have not only so many choices, but you can get exactly what you want. If there's something that you do not want to watch, you do not have to. And therefore, if you know, like we talked about earlier, like if you can't keep someone's attention for a
Right.
while, like they're going to click off, and they're not going to see a lot of videos that you make. And the other thing about YouTube, especially nowadays, is like subscribers. Like when you have subscribers, it truly almost means nothing these days.
Mm.
Like if you look at the viewership I get on a video, and you look at the amount of people who are like got notifications, and I don't push, hey, subscribe, push your notifications. I never say that kind of stuff on
Yeah.
YouTube. So maybe it would be more if I did. But like I might have a video that has 30,000 views, and I have 650 of them were from a notification. You know,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
it's very minimal. And it used to be back in the day when you had fewer creators out there, like if someone subscribed to you, they were going to be fed a lot of what you put out. And
Right.
nowadays it does, you could subscribe tomorrow to some guy in a week, it may just get mixed up. Because I even looked at my subscriber, like the people I subscribed to the other day, and I had like 78 different channels or something. I was like, I don't even remember subscribing to half of these channels, but
That's
it's just
true.
like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
one after another. And so like
Yeah.
you get on YouTube, more than likely, if these guys are still making content, like some guys aren't getting on every single day. Some guys do. And some
Sure.
guys might get on every couple of days. And if they have 78 people that they're subscribed to, and each one has a new video, like YouTube cannot show them all of them. And
Right.
not to
Yeah.
mention these people who are just up and coming and make a great piece of content, because that's what it's all about these days. Like if you no matter how many viewers or subscribers you have, if you make a truly great piece of content, it's going to blow up. It may take a little more time on some channels, but
Mm.
it's going to happen if like your analytics are there. So
Sure.
it's the state of YouTube the thing that does stink about it, and I hate it, is that you know you do have to be a little bit flamboyant with your titles at times. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things about YouTube. Like you have to what I say is you have to create FOMO. Like if you create FOMO,
Sure. Yeah. That's good
you will
advice.
you will win on YouTube. Because if someone, like literally in their mind, if it shows up and they're like, man, if I don't watch this now, then I'll probably never see it again. Like I
Yeah.
have to, if they get out
Yeah.
of bed at night because of your title, you have won. You know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's truly what it's like all about. And so unfortunately you can't, if I do a video about how to catch bass on a jig, I can't label it how to catch bass on a jig. Nobody will ever watch it. You really have to be, you have to say, I caught the biggest bass in my life on this jig, and then people are going to watch it. So it stinks because as the creator, you don't a lot of times want to be that way. There are definitely people out there who play into it, and they will even manufacture things out on the water so that
Mm.
they can use a crazy title or a crazy
Right. Right.
thumbnail.
Right. Yeah.
And it helps them to get viewership. But if you do that time and time again to your viewer, they're going to realize that you're full of it, and
Yeah.
they're gonna peace out. And
Yeah.
so there's definitely, I was talking to Mikey Balls Fishing. You guys have probably
Of course.
listened to him. He had a
Yeah.
hundred
Yeah.
thousand subscribers the other day. We were texting, and I just mentioned, I was just like, he was like basically saying, he's like, this stuff comes natural to you. And I'm like, dude, I feel like every video I put out, I am striving to get viewership. Like I'm
Mm.
doing everything I can to let that thing get views. Which is also why I created my other Tyler Berger channel, where I just do not care, because I hate the stress of like, "Ah, I hope this video gets views,"
Yeah.
because especially like I've had videos that I've spent 40 and 50 hours on. I had one video I made for, it took me 3 weeks to make it. And so I
Wow.
didn't even accumulate the hours. Plus, that was the fishing line video. I don't know if you guys saw the one that I did a test on. I
Yeah, where
spent
you came up with
900,
Spro, right? Was the best one.
and I spent $900 just on fishing line, like my own. Out of nobody's going to give you a bunch of fishing line
Jeez.
Yeah.
so I just spent the money, and I'm like, I personally wanted to know, and
Yeah.
so I'm like, might as well do it. Hopefully, I can recoup my costs. And so, anyways,
That was a great
if you
video.
spend a lot of that time and it doesn't take off the way you think, then I mean it's sincerely a waste. So it
Yeah.
does stink. You do have to be a little bit on the like I said, flamboyant. I don't like the term clickbait.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because like you have to make your title, specifically title and thumbnail. You have to spend, that's going to get you 50% of your views.
Wow.
Simply your title and your thumbnail. Like if a video has $100,000, $100,000 view max, like 50-60% of it is going to come from having a good title. And so
Wow.
you really, it sucks that you have to do that, but you just have to.
Do you agree, Tyler, with the idea that like, however you, what do you edit in? Are you a Premiere guy, Final Cut Pro, or what do you?
Premiere Pro, yeah.
Premiere Pro. Okay, so I'm a Final Cut Pro guy, whatever. But whenever you export your video, yeah, just like Texas. Geez, I'm just gonna leave tonight feeling sad. But when you export your video, I saw a video talking about videos. That's a whole nother niche too, like videos about videos, for how the videos are the videos and whatever. Do you agree that what you title your video out of your editor matters before you even change the title in YouTube? But like if you export it as fishing video number 1, you'll get less views than if you title it as best jig I've ever used, because then somehow that gets in the weird. Is that a thing? Do you agree with
No,
that, or is that
I think
like,
I think at a point in time, if you were talking about jig fishing, and I still do it to this day, I will export it as, jig fishing,
okay,
1 or 2
yeah,
or 3, because
yeah,
I've made
yeah,
so
yeah,
many. So I still do that. I do not think it matters at all. I think it purely comes down to how
title,
clickable your
thumbnail,
title and thumbnail
yeah.
is, and how people watch it.
And
Like
you,
the
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like, so speaking of thumbnails, you do a really good job on your thumbnails where they're just like Miles Bergoff. I can think of a few other guys, like where your thumbnails are similar from video to video, but they're specific enough to whatever that topic is. Have you done, knowing your background and your brain and whatever, like, have you done analysis to see, like, if I don't do the little video where I'm smiling and I'm pointing, and then there's like a photoshopped in jig fish or whatever, it doesn't get as many views? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, have you researched that and found that you get less viewership if you go with just like a still shot of whatever from the video?
Yeah, so and you're referring to the Tyler Berger channel. It's the only one where I typically use my face and I do the little points here and
Yeah,
there
yeah.
and whatever.
Look, he's doing it right now. Look at that.
Yeah. So,
Oh.
so anyways, yeah, so back in the day, you used to, as a like in YouTube, I would look at videos and I would wait till they got to 1,000 impressions, and I would look at what the click through rate was. And then I would switch up my thumbnail. And once it hit another 1,000 impressions, I would see if it was a better click through. And then I would keep doing that until I kind of mastered what it was out. Nowadays, like I think it's available for most channels, where you can actually put in 3 different thumbnails, and then the YouTube serves them up equally.
Right. Yep.
And then that one helps you. It doesn't go upon click through rate; it goes upon watch time. Now,
Yep.
typically, if a
Yeah,
video
watch
has a
time.
better click through rate, it's going to have a higher watch time. So therefore, it's probably the better one. So I do every video I make on Bass Fishing HQ, I do 3 um, thumbnails for. And then at times, if one is substantially better, I will do another test where I take that one and do different words. So I might test out 6 different thumbnails for one video. With the Tyler Berger one, like I said, I truly do not care about the viewership on there. Like I just want to create this community of guys that likes to fish. And so I like the picture that I use like 4 pictures of me doing this or whatever it is. And then I'll just put some random background on there that makes sense
Yeah.
in it. And so I have tested those out just for fun, just to see. And I found that the ones where I'm not, because I'll test the same image with me in the picture versus me without it. And so typically the ones without it, like they don't get as many clicks up front. But what you've seen also with that is that over time, that changes too, because
Sure.
the way that a viewer who is used to your channel is going to click on your video in a different habit. Like they have different habits than someone who's fresh to your content.
Sure.
So
Yep.
it's best to actually do that for people who are fresh to your content because that's probably a bigger market. But that's like a more long-term thing.
Yeah. Man, this is great information, dude. Are you digging this,
Yeah,
Nate?
heck yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've got notes, like I said, I've got stuff written down. You can't really see it, but
Nate's been over
I've
there
got
scribbling.
yeah, taking notes for sure. But yeah, no, it's definitely dope.
You
For you guys, I just want to be honest. You shouldn't put episode blah as your first thing on YouTube. Make
okay.
that if you put it at all, make it a parentheses at the very end. But put your main subject title and try to keep it in 55 characters. If
Okay.
you do that, and then
Nate, write that
episode
down.
92 or
Notes.
EP.92,
Yeah.
like I would do that because I don't want to say no one cares about what episode it is because I know
Yeah.
how hard it is to get to that many episodes on a podcast.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard. So I know that, but people that are fresh to the content, they're gonna want to just see the juice right off the get-go, if that makes
Okay.
sense. So like in
Yeah.
your title, you can have your 55 characters worth, take the quote of whatever happened in that podcast, and that's what I would use. And then you
Okay.
could put the in parentheses episode 92.
Yeah, that's
So
great
or
advice,
whatever.
man. I'll take it. Yeah. If you want to give
Heck
me
yeah.
advice, if you want to give me advice on YouTube, I'm gonna take it. Like
Yeah,
flat out.
no
I'm
doubt.
gonna listen. Yeah, absolutely. Give people we haven't launched it yet, but we had an episode with Justin Hamner, which we're going to release like right before the classic because makes sense. And we just said, hey, give us advice, like a one quick hitter. Give us advice on fishing a jerkbait. And without hesitance, he was like, it fishes everywhere all the time. It doesn't have to just be cold water, clear water, whatever, right? And I was like, great. Can you give us one quick hit? One quick hitter, and you've given us a lot already, but one thing somebody could focus on for growing their YouTube.
Kind of really what we just talked about, honestly. Like your thumbnail and title is way more important than we want it to be. And so, the other thing is that like your subject of your video, your main subject, whether it's a bait you're talking about or someone you're talking to, should probably be about 80% of your thumbnail. So you don't want a thumbnail that's overcomplicated with a lot of little things here and there. You want to, if you look at a lot of the videos that I do, like especially on Bass Fishing HQ, there's usually one thing, and try to keep your words to under 3 words. Like,
On the thumbnail?
best bait ever on the thumbnail. Yeah,
Okay.
or keep it very, or if you can just put like really words that create that FOMO, like you could just have it say wow underneath, like, and then people are like, like when they see the thumbnail, they're like, what is he wowing about? Or like this completely changed. You can use these words. I do think that words on thumbnails work the best if you do it right. And usually you have to have about 2-3 words, 4
Okay.
at most. And also like there's stupid color things that I pay attention to at times on YouTube. Like fishermen relate to green, I think. So like thumbnails, some of my best thumbnails ever have greenish backgrounds. Like, I know this is in the weeds here.
No, this is
So
great.
switching up the little
Yeah.
colors at times, like I've literally taken images and I've like, I don't know what the word is. I've tainted them green. Like I've made the whole image fairly green, and they just
Sure.
you see them literally go what? Will they pop off all of a sudden.
Really? Huh.
And so it's like little things like that. The other thing is that like you can always continue to test out your thumbnails. Like if you find one that works, duplicate it and use it for all your past videos too.
Mhm.
So like if you find something that kind of works, use that same kind of process and just throw it on all of your other videos. Like you can always add and change and update videos as far as titles and thumbnails. And I've had videos that were dead, like 1 view in 48 hours. And
Hmm.
I've made a simple change and they just go.
Really?
And a lot of those were old videos that like I had no clue what I was doing on. And I was like, you know what? I don't even know why I named it that. I don't know why I titled that. I'm just going to change it up. And then all of a sudden you just see it where
Huh.
it may take a couple weeks, it may take a couple months.
But you were
The
just sitting on it anyway, so
Yeah, you're just sitting on it anyways. It takes you 10 minutes to create a thumbnail and title, and so
wow,
it's well worth
that's
your
smart.
time. So
Heck
I
yeah.
don't know. Unfortunately, with like I said, with YouTube, that has to be one of your main focuses a lot of times.
Okay. Yeah, that's great advice, man. That's solid for sure.
So, and if you guys, I did a hopefully I'll get back to doing podcast again because I did a few on Bass Fishing HQ called the Bass Juice Podcast. Um, that was me taking all of my YouTube knowledge and putting it on to a podcast.
Mm.
And it seemed to have worked. Like I had a couple of those podcasts get over 100,000 views.
Oh, heck yeah.
And I think that's something a lot of podcasts do is that they start out very slow to get to the subject. And I think if you can be very fast to get to the subject, then it will help your overall retention. So that's another thing that I think could be really good.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, actually. Yeah, people have short
Heck
attention
yeah.
spans, and yeah, for sure. I also think there's something to be said about the way that you do videos for YouTube. Like if you're really all in on 3 videos a week or whatever, some of the best advice I got, my homie Garrett, who runs this YouTube, Cletus McFarland, he was like, you have to be able to make videos that are like reproducible. Like you can't be like not everybody can be making stuff like Vandy with Polinick, where it's like these epic big Steven Spielberg. Like some of them need to be like something you can record in 2 hours and edit in 30 minutes and put out. Not garbage, but like just something that's sustainable that you can keep on rolling with. And I feel like your videos do a really good job of that, where it's like some of them are like really well produced and like cool shots and slow-mo and whatever, and some of them are just pretty quick hitters, but they feel really like I don't know about attainable, but they feel real. Do you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I think when people come out with these like super produced videos, they don't feel as like real. They don't feel as like common man. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
sometimes when you see a dude sitting in his garage by his boat or whatever, talking about this or that, it's like it's a little more honest. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah. I mean, you look at the biggest creator in all of YouTube outside of fishing, Mr. Beast, right? He
Yeah.
will not go to a 4K camera, or he could go to an 8K camera. He could go to whatever resolution, the highest resolution he could go to on YouTube, and he refuses because that element it makes it too overproduced.
Yep.
So he sticks
Totally.
to a lot of 1080p stuff and
Mm.
GoPros and like things like that because it's relatable. It's like
Yep.
it's not like a
Relatable. That's a good word.
Amazon show where that was different. It's like a guy making a YouTube channel. So
Yeah.
I do think that there's an element there of being able to produce and absolutely that one of the reasons that I started the Tyler Berger channel too is because I tend to put a lot of effort in the Bass Fishing HQ channel videos, which like a minimum would be like an hour of filming it. If it's like a sit down portion, and then maybe you go fishing to try to get a fish catch or two, and then like you have a 6 hour time frame to edit where I like to put in a tremendous amount of b-roll. I do these little animations that I think are dumb, but people love them too. But anyways, like you do all that stuff and it won't get as many views this time as me just sitting down and talking for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I
You're like,
saw
what the?
so many guys doing that. I wouldn't say it frustrated me, but I'm like, man, like when it comes back to it, like fishermen sometimes just want to be maybe either taught something or they don't have to have the fanciest editing
Yeah.
and they don't
Exactly.
have to
Sure.
have
Yep.
something over the top to just learn. And so that's why I created the other channel too, so I could just like every single one of them is a one-hit wonder. There's no editing. I literally turn my phone on. I do it all on a phone and shoot it and then hit my phone. I just trim up the end so it's not like this awkward thing. And yeah.
That's it. That's dope. That's really dope. What do you think,
Heck
man?
yeah.
I know you're a Christian cat. You love Jesus. You like Hillsong music. That's all good. I love that stuff too. But can I get you to talk bad about somebody real quick? Not really, but what are your thoughts on like the videos? Like, there's different channels, and we ain't got to name them, but different channels where like all it is talking head videos, and all they're doing is like stirring the pot and talking bad about like, oh, this guy's, you know what I'm saying, a cheater, and this guy got caught doing this and that. Like, what are your thoughts on some of those videos where it doesn't even really seem to be like, I don't know how to say it, but it just doesn't really seem to be very beneficial, I guess you could say, on some level. And maybe I guess that's YouTube. You can do whatever you want at any time, but I don't know. It's frustrating to me.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the frustration. I think that everyone in life is just a little bit different, and some people, like by fault, are pessimists, and other people are just don't like to go there. The thing that stinks is that like people gravitate towards that type of content. Like if it's about a whatever it may be. I know what you're saying. I probably even know some of the ones that you're talking about, but
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
people gravitate towards that stuff. And it's human nature. Like we all want to know the gossip, like
Mhm.
that's, I mean, like I said, you talk about Christian, like that's biblical, like gossip stuff. Like
Yeah.
people want to be in the know, and they want to be able to tell people what they've learned. And so it's easy for someone to watch a video, 10-minute video, and then text a buddy, bro, did you hear that this happened? So
Yeah.
that's why so many people gravitate towards it. And so, you know, there's guys that understand that and they make content related to it, and they get viewership and they make money from it. And you know what? Like that's their vein. And if they want to keep doing it, then, have at it. Um, like that's just there's always going to be that. I mean, that's literally like if you think about it, that is like mainstream media news,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like the
Negative
news
and
is the exact same way.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
are the headlines? They're all
Yeah.
negative. They're
Yeah.
they're all about how you're going to die tomorrow. Like they're
Yeah.
all they're
Seriously.
all that way.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because their ratings are up.
Yeah.
People watch it, and so like
Mhm.
I don't blame necessarily the person making the content. I blame all of us that are the exact same way that are like, what is he talking about? What's in the what do I have to need to know? And
Yeah.
so it's unfortunate because I think that there are a lot of guys, like I know several that don't want to go down that path. And I'm the same way. Like I would rather spread positivity or something that happened that was really positive. It's not going to get views, and you have to be okay with that like a creator,
Yeah.
that it may not get as many views as you saying something that's, crazy. You
Yeah.
have other guys too that like I think there's a couple channels that people just sign up to watch the train wreck. Like whether
For
they're
sure.
for
Right.
him or against them, right?
Yep.
Like they
Yep.
just sign up to watch the train wreck.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us about your boat, dude, because that thing's nasty.
Yeah, I mean, Icon is. I mean, it's a premium boat. It's exactly what you would think it is. It is a yacht company that has made a bass boat. Like
Yep.
that is what Icon is.
Yep.
So I had I was able to go through their factory, which was a
Oh,
really
that's sick.
cool deal, and they make their bass boats right alongside $1 million, 2 million, 3, 4, 7. I don't know how many millions-dollar yachts. Like they make them right there.
Yeah.
So, when people see that price and that sticker price and they're like, holy cow, it is a premium boat in every
Yep.
sense of the word. Like I think that it's just a different market though. Like, and it's going to be a lot more. I feel like over time it might be either guys who are wealthy or guys who are like, hey, I want to buy one more boat. I'm going to have this boat for the rest of my life.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
those are going to be
Right.
icon buyers. But the things are just a great boat, a humongous platform.
Hmm.
I'm looking at it through my door right here. But
That's
it's
awesome.
just it's a phenomenal boat. Like there's no I think the biggest knock on them is like your top end speed. which is funny to me because like your top end speed on a glass calm day is not going to be that as of a lot of boats. Although that some of their like the VLX model, it's a little bit faster of a boat. But how many days do you run into calm water? You know,
Yeah.
like if you go out there and you're in 1.5 2 foot chop, or you fish these lakes where there's a lot of wake boats and there's that chop like that, you are going to fly past everyone who is going slow to not beat their boat up because you're just humming across those waves
Sure.
and bumping them out.
Yeah, for
Right.
So
sure.
although your top end speed may not be quite as high as like some boats on a glass calm lake, like when you're going across the wake, man, you're watching guys go by. So it's a phenomenal boat. I mean, I got it decked out with all the Humminbird electronics and
Yeah.
Minn Kota products that you could want, and it's a great setup. Like absolutely, there I have no bad thing to say about it at all.
That's sweet. Yeah. What's your favorite
Heck
thing
yeah.
about it? Because I know Icon has some pretty unique things like the cooled live wells and all that. I don't know if you have that option in yours, and
That's
even
the
the
one
shape
option
of
I
it.
don't have is the
Okay.
cooled
Yeah.
option or the
Yeah, and then
cooled
it has like
live
the
well.
arrowhead on the front, kind of where it comes out, flares out on the deck. I mean, what's one of your favorite things about it?
I
I mean,
hate to say,
specific to it.
yeah, I hate to say this, but it's got the little phone charger that's like a little clip, you know, where you just literally just set it in,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's just like, why didn't everyone else think about that? Like
yeah.
it's just the little things. As a content creator, I really like the way that the dash is set up because I actually run an HDMI cord from one of my units through the console and out the front where I have a little recorder box so I can
Oh, sure.
set up and record my unit all day long. So I love that feature because a lot of them don't have that.
Mhm.
So that's really cool. And obviously, like I've always been like, it's a huge deck. Like it's a humongous front deck. Like
Mhm.
you can, if you're live scoping with a buddy, you guys can both be
Both be
side
up
by
there.
side
Yeah,
because
Right.
of how big it is. Like
that's
if you
dope.
really wanted to go down that route. But even with how big it is, it's a nimble boat. Like you can get
Okay.
it in and out of places. And it's just, I mean, there's a lot of really good things about it. I mean, like I said, it's a premium boat.
Yeah,
It costs a good amount of money,
yeah,
but it's a premium boat.
yeah. That's sweet. They just look cool, man. Like that's a good looking rig for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they're
they are good.
definitely uniquely designed, and man, they've done a lot of thought out portions of the boat. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's real
Yeah,
intentional. It feels like.
there's a lot of little things like you said thought out that you wouldn't know that they did. Like for example, where the cooler is and where you like your little storage compartment between the seats are like
Mhm.
at a level that they basically like had a boat sit in the water and how it sits, and they made sure that that was level. Although it's a little bit off, like if it's sitting flat in the water, it's level. So if you're a net man and you're going from one side to the other, you don't realize how easy it is to cross that. Like you think of all the
Oh,
other
sure.
boats when you're
Yeah.
going from
Yeah.
back to front to net
Mhm.
a boat, like how many times this guy just like
Yeah.
completely
Clunk.
stumble.
Yeah.
And they actually thought about, hey, let's make sure that these are at the exact same level when
I love
someone
that.
goes across. And
Yeah.
you realize it when you start netting bass or whatever it may be. And you're like, that was a really easy. So it's just like little things like that that
Mhm.
you never think about, but they completely thought out everything. So
That's dope. Yeah. Are you running the Mega Live 2 then?
I do have a Mega Live too. Yes.
Dude, how much of a freaking jump was Mega Live 2 from Mega Live 1?
Yeah.
Like it's wild how much better it is.
Yeah. No, it's a massive jump. It's I caught a lot of fish on the Mega Live 1.
Mhm.
And I feel like the Mega Live 2 is very on par with a lot of what there is as far as forward facing sonar. And the thing that like I love the connectivity of Humminbird,
Yeah.
where you can connect every single unit
Yeah.
and everything. Like even on the live, when I'm like, if I'm looking at, on their more of the landscape type mode,
Mhm.
which is what they call it. Like it'll show my waypoints on the landscape mode. So having everything connected and not having a unit that's all by itself, like I love that
Yeah.
part about it. I can make waypoints on it. Love that. So
Yeah. That is really sick. Yeah, I really
Yeah,
like it.
slick.
Okay, so one more thing before we let you get out of here, maybe to tell us a little bit about fin fishing.
That's the one I wanted to hear about right there.
Yeah.
yes. So it's been a cool process. So when I was in college, um, I actually wanted to start like a fishing apparel brand.
Okay.
It was like something that I really wanted to do. I'm like, I want to make clothes for fishermen. I didn't know what that looked like. I just know that I wanted to do it. And this was before Hook came out. And
Mhm.
then I think Hook came out, I want to say they came out in like 13, 14, 15 time
That sounds
frame.
about right. Yeah.
So a little bit outside of I know that I was graduated. And when they came out, I literally remember seeing that happen. I'm like, that's what I wanted to do. Like
Mhm.
that is what I wanted for a business. And then they kind of really grew up and they, Hook and the AFCOs of the worlds and the
Yeah.
Sims, like they all kind of grew up. And I remember thinking like in my mind for a while, like I missed that boat.
Mm.
And then at the end of 2021, so we kind of talked earlier about my channel. You know, YouTube can pay great at times and it can pay terrible at times because your views go up and down. Like you
Sure.
could have
Yeah.
a month where you make a third of what you made the month prior because of the viewership. And the more videos you get, the more consistent that tends to be. But I wanted to have another way um, to make a little extra money with the whole YouTube side. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe because I do have uh, a following, maybe I can create a product and bring it to market. And maybe some of these guys, like did not know if people would buy based upon what I am saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was kind of crazy because at the very end of 2021, I had like $2,200 in cash from tournaments. Usually, I use cash to pay for vacation every year. Like every tournament I win, I use that towards my vacation fund for
That's
my
dope.
wife and my
I
kids
like that.
and
Yeah.
everything. At the very end of this year, I had like $2,200 left in that little cash account. Literally, it's my dresser drawer, right? And so, at the I told my wife, I'm like, I am going to try to figure out a way to make sun shirts. It's going to be one of my first products, and I had no clue what that entailed. And I'm going to use that $2,200 and see if I can't turn it into like $4,000. Like that was my goal.
Mhm.
And so I took that money. I figured out a way to develop shirts, got shirts, and started selling them at the end of 21. And well, actually, I started more at the beginning of 21 with thinking of the idea of sun shirts. But anyways, took that money, bought shirts, got shirts, and then sold them. And it worked pretty quick. Like I was able to
Okay.
at least get my money back that I had spent. And so I was happy about that. And
Yeah.
then just like over
Heck yeah.
time, I've kind of like slowly learned the industry and also like developed more products. Like, I've always wanted to have a pair of shorts and finally came out with a good pair of shorts last year.
Dope.
I went from having an overseas manufacturer make all my sun shirts to finding someone in the US. So, like,
Mm.
the sun shirts are made completely in the US,
Good for
which
you.
I'm proud of. I probably pay
Heck
at
yeah.
least double,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
even more
Yeah,
than what a
for
lot of
sure.
these companies are paying. But I was like, whatever, I'll just eat the cost. I'll try to keep that $50 mark, which is what a lot of sun shirts are, kind of the same. And hopefully people will like that they're made in the US. And it's had a great response. And so it's just kind of like slowly I've invested more time. I got this new hat here. This is the duck hat. This is a
That's
waterproof
dope.
hat. It literally
Oh,
just
sick.
water comes right off of it. So anyways, like I've just slowly kind of added products. There's a couple more products that I'm hoping to come out with over the next like 6 months. And it was one of those things that I've never like I haven't really ever taken any money from the company. I just kind of keep reinvesting in it into more
Mhm.
product and the
Mhm.
more things, and to pay taxes, of course. But anyways, it's been a slower process, but it's been unique. It's been cool to kind of like figure it all out.
Yeah, that's dope, dude. Why the name? Where'd that come from?
This is the name of my oldest son. So Finn, his name is Thomas Finn. We call him Finn, spelled Finn. And
Okay.
so when I was thinking about it, oh, it just made sense. Like Finn, fish fin,
Yeah.
whatever. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go with
Yeah.
that. So that's what I decided to name it. and then had to go through the whole legal process of trademarking and stuff like that, which is annoying, but you got to do it. And so anyways, that's the name.
That's
But
cool.
now I've had 2 other boys. I have a Maverick and a Bo. And
Okay.
so now I'm going to have to come up with different businesses for their names. So they're going to get.
You got to stop having kids, man. You come up with these businesses for all of them. Yeah. We have Lola and I have a middle girl named Finn Lee, and we call her Finn. So we'll have to buy some of your stuff. She'd love that. She'd be pumped. Yeah. Nate, you got anything else for this stuff, Muffin, before we let him go?
No, man, that was awesome. Definitely wanted the lowdown on the Finn products and apparel before we got out of here. Can you tell us a little bit? I guess one last thing. Tell us a little bit about the stop bleeding spray you got. I've seen you talk about that on a few videos.
Yeah, so it's, I think I'm like most anglers or a lot of anglers. Like I've always, for years, I bought Mountain Dew, because I have seen where I really felt like Mountain Dew stops a bass from bleeding. And so I think that there's a little bit of a misconception, especially when Major League Fishing came out, because guys would catch bass that are bleeding and they're like, oh, we'll just throw them back in the water and they're good to go. Well, if you hook a fish in the gill or in the tongue and they're bleeding in excessive amount, they're not going to be okay. Like they're not. It's like cutting off your leg, like it's like hitting that artery in your leg where you bleed out real quick, right? Like that's the exact same thing when we hook a fish weird in the mouth and you literally see the blood just flowing. And so I think there's been a misconception that you throw them back in the water, they're good to go. Well, no, they just swim out of sight and then die, and you don't see them.
Delayed mortality.
Yeah. And so, anyways, actually, a little while ago, the company approached me, saying like, "Hey, we got this product. We would love for you to like represent it of some sort. Almost like a hey, we'd love to like sponsor you type of thing." I didn't know much about the product, so got my hands on some, was able to use it and see the power of it being able to stop a fish from bleeding, which is pretty unique. They did some rigorous tests that they wouldn't really tell me about, but tests that basically they saw that it gave a bass a chance of survival that's 85% greater than if you literally just let it go. Wow. And so this is obviously a sport. Like we all care. Like I think for a lot of us, like you hook under a 3-4 pounder or a bigger and it's bleeding, like there's that pit in your stomach.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
Man,
oh yeah.
No obviously doubt. In a tournament, like it can cost you money, but even if you're out there fun fishing and that happens, you're like, you just don't want this fish to die. I think there's the vast majority of anglers that are that way. And so anyways, having a product that was actually designed to basically help this stop. It's basically like slapping on a little Band-Aid that also helps heal that wound a lot quicker. So it helps keep that blood in and it helps keep your fish alive. So anyways, and it's a fairly like you get 400 sprays out of a $12 can or something like that, $12.99. So if you think of the amount of Mountain Dews that I've bought over the year, usually you would get like I bought Mountain Dew literally for like the last, I don't know how many years. And I drink Mountain Dew from time to time, but not much. I would just buy it to have in my boat. And it's $2 at the gas station, $2.99 probably at gas stations these days. Right. And so like, it just adds up. So now I can just have this little canister with me, fish is bleeding, hit it up with that. The company Buzzer Rocks actually makes a lot of other live well treatments. So you kind of use that and you can use these other live well treatments and you can really just help, keep the fish alive, whether that's tournament or whether that's, outside of tournament fishing. So it's a cool little product. Definitely something that's unique. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I definitely like how it's fish specific. It's something that product that's designed specifically for healing fish. I thought that was pretty cool. When I heard you talk about it, I want to say a few days ago now, but yeah, definitely a cool product.
What'd you say it's called, Tyler?
So Buzzer Rocks is the company and they make the name of the thing is just called their fish blood formula, I think.
Okay.
Or blood stop formula.
Okay.
And I can't even remember now.
Oh, you're all good.
But anyways, yeah, no, it's a good little like I said, they have a number of different products, but I decided, so they had approached me of wanting me to work with them like on a almost like a sponsorship basis. I don't necessarily love sponsorships
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just said, hey, how about I wholesale this for you? So I actually inventory them myself. And now, like, for example, I can utilize it, for example, with my fin stuff. Like right now, I'm running a sale. Like you buy a fin sun shirt, you get a Buzzer Rocks fish blood formula for free.
That's
So
cool.
it helps them, it helps me, and it works out better that way. So
Yeah. What, you know, Polinick just won on Okeechobee. What was it? It was last year, right? I know he had a really rough season last year, but wasn't it last year that he took second because he had a dead fish or 2 dead fish or what? Remember that?
yeah, I feel like he's
When was
running
that?
the. I don't remember. I
That was
don't remember
recent.
when. He definitely had a rough season. I think it
Yeah.
was last year.
Yeah. I just
Um,
wonder whatever we can do to prevent fish from dying, you know, as a conservation thing, of course, it's incredible. But in tournaments, like you said, I mean, it's worth its weight in gold, man, whether that's live well treatments or keeping the fish from bleeding out or whatever. Because you're absolutely right, man. Like Lola has a picture of her holding up like a 4-pound smallmouth that I've never shared because she held it up and then she saw that it was bleeding all over and there's like blood all down the side of it. And, you know, so we tried to keep it in the live well and clean it up and see if it was going to be okay. And I can't remember if it swam off or not, but that feeling, it's the worst, especially when you feel, like you said, when it's bleeding, it's like, you get this pit in your stomach and I don't know what to do. You know, it's like when you're bow hunting and the deer walks away and it's like, there's nothing I can do right now to like save the situation.
yeah. No, I think that every fisherman who's been there, and and it's the same thing even for like a pond. Like for example, me growing up on a pond, like I hated when fish would die because
Yeah.
for me, it was like that was one of my fish that I would catch.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
even for like a pond angler, bank angler, boat angler, no matter what, like to be able to just have a little can that you can keep with you, and if you see a fish dying, you just
Yeah.
do it, and at least you tried. That's my thing. At
Right.
least
Yeah.
you tried.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's really good. Well, all right, man. We appreciate you jumping on our little podcast, dude, for sure. Thanks for the advice on the YouTube stuff. The knowledge you dropped was like a dope combination of, I feel like, experience from you / really looking at the black and white, the objective numbers, the analytical side of things. And that's a good combo. So thank you so much, man. We wish you the best. And yeah, appreciate you.
yeah, no, thanks for having me on. We'll have to do it again sometime. This was fun.
Absolutely, man. We'd love to have you
Heck
back on.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, shoot me a text. Let me know.
all right, brother. I appreciate you. Everybody, that's Tyler
Awesome.
Berger. All right, man. Appreciate it.
See y'all.
Peace.
Bye.
That was an awkward ending. My mouse is not working right, so I had to like reach up to the laptop. But dude, what a cool cat, man! What a stud,
yeah.
dude! What a great like bit of fun and just anecdotal and stories and whatever. But then like when he got to talking about YouTube, it was like very just, this is why YouTube works. This is why YouTube doesn't. And when he's like, "Can I give you guys some advice on your YouTube?" And I'm like, "Yes." You know what I'm saying? Like that. Yeah, we'll definitely have to title this something about like, make your YouTube not suck with Tyler Berger.
Heck yeah. No, yeah, the information, the knowledge, like you said, experience, a little bit of everything, man. He hit it all on the head. Quite well. It was impressive, for sure.
Yeah. I love that you were like humble enough to sit over there and take notes, Nate. That's dope, dude. Uh-oh, you're muted.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was muted. I think my wife's just getting home, so my dog was barking upstairs.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm definitely gonna take notes. When you talk to a guy with that sort of knowledge,
For sure.
I've got stuff listed here and things we can work on. If anybody listens to not just this episode but anything in life and thinks that there's nothing I can learn, you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a dangerous place to be at, man.
Without a doubt, yeah.
You never arrive. I don't care if it's ballroom dancing. I don't care if it's being a secretary. I don't care if it's being a fisherman. There's always ways to improve. And when you talk to somebody like Tyler, who is, and here's what I'll say too that was really cool about Tyler. Well, anyway, I'll finish that thought. So when you talk to somebody like Tyler, if you can't like you did, take some notes and listen, like, yeah, you're doing it wrong, man. You're doing it wrong. Like there's this guy with all these years of experience and collegiate training, essentially, you could call it, behind him, just
Yeah.
barfing free, usable, practical information. If you're like, oh, I don't need to listen to that. Like, dude, you need to, you know, you do. But
Yeah.
the other thing I liked about the way that he spoke was it was a combination of like, he's stoked on the things that he's doing, obviously. Like, he's stoked on making videos. He's stoked on analyzing and the metrics and all that kind of stuff. But he's also not coming across like arrogant or condescending. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was just having a conversation with, I think it was with Lola the other day about back in the day when I was a knucklehead and I thought it was cool to get in fist fights and whatever. I think 3/4 of like the fights I ever got in were from being frustrated about people being condescending. Like, when people speak down to you, it is the most, oh my gosh, man, like that's so frustrating. And here's a guy in Tyler who I don't think he would stylistically, but he has the right to. Like, he's really good at YouTube. He makes a living for his wife and his 3 sons doing well on YouTube. So if he was gonna speak down, like, well, yeah, man, you can't be putting your episode numbers on. Nobody cares about you. But he didn't say it like that. He said it from this like humble, like trying to help place. And I think that's dope.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. A guy that has that right, like you said,
Totally.
but still doesn't. Like those
Mhm.
those are the kind of people you definitely want to take advice from. You definitely want to listen to because, you know, just like this episode, they're going to spill some knowledge that you can really grab onto. Just like that, just like the Iaconelli book he was talking about.
Yep.
You know, not everything is going to be gold all the time, but there's always going to be some sort of value in it.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a little bit of this or that, something you
Yep.
can grasp and take for sure.
Yeah. And so if you're listening to this or watching this podcast, make sure, man, you check out Tyler Berger on YouTube. It's Tyler Berger, Tyler, and then Berger is Berger. So sounds like burger, like hamburger, but it's not spelled the same. And then obviously his channel, it's been going on for, I guess it's only 4 years. I thought it was a lot longer than that. But Bass Fishing HQ, if you look that up online, you'll find it. 235,000 subscribers. I don't know how many videos he has with over 1 million views. And like we were talking about early on, that one video on how to skip, it's a dope combination of like the shots that he gets of him skipping that jackal bounty fish. They're so satisfying to watch, but he gets, like he said a couple times on the podcast, oh, I'm getting down in the weeds. I'm getting in the weeds. He gets fully in the weeds on how to skip in that video, like super high level specificity on like, this is how you set your bait caster. This line works better. Here's the angle to use. If you're right-handed, if you're left-handed, I don't know. Like, it's just really on point. And so, yeah, dope dude, dope interview. What a cool cat. Make sure you check him out.
Yeah, without a doubt, we can't say thank you enough for that one.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you. So that's it, everybody. Make sure you check us out as well. TacklingTacos.com, Tackling Tacos social media. We will catch you on the next one. Remember, no matter what, I think Tyler proved it as well. Positivity is worth the effort.
Peace.